that. Let's go into the beta elements. So, I have official permission to look into these from Fusionfall Universe writer Prisified. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. So we're going to go into depth and looking at some of the beta elements for Retro that have been known for the last 2 years, but I figured this is going to go up on YouTube. Let's do a video, because not many people talk about it. Everyone talks about Legacy and what Legacy was going to be and all the stuff in Legacy, but nobody talks about Retro's expansion. So we got a lot here. I'm not going to go into this, so we're going to start all the way. Oh god, we got a lot to scroll through. Here with Time Squad Part 2. We knew this update was going to come out. It was probably like a couple days away from coming out before the MCA happened. But as we learn here, it was originally meant to be one update, which is just kind of cool. Kind of nice to know that it was supposed to be one. We would have had a World Nano if that's the case, because as you can see here, a Larry 3000 Nano would be available as a World Nano mission. I'm going to throw in my speculation. I think that probably would have been level 29, maybe. 29, 30, that's around the time the second part of Time Squad was going to happen. It's either that or it was level like 10 and it was in Ghost Junkyard. I don't know which is which. We never got to see that. They added the 3 new Nanos before the Larry 1000 one ever got made. But, I don't know if it says anything here. Buck, Tud, Russell, and Otto were planned for it. I don't see anything here that says it. But yeah, they were there. They were supposed to be in Huntor's Crest. Buck, Tud, Russell actually is in the code, so if you have a Nano summoning list, or not Nano, NPC list, you can find him. He is in the code. He is there. I've spawned him in. He has no dialogue or anything. He just is there. And he's in. It's nice. It's cool. He's here, and that's really nice to see. Otto, there was a stream by Dogon, and there's a video up on YouTube that shows what the Otto model would have looked like. It's all right. Once again, aged up character because Cartoon Network. But this mission line looks like it would have been going back to the future, which was a cool concept. I even think I used a little bit of that for my own projects, going back into the future, fixing time issues, like Buttercup, Eduardo, and Samurai Jack. As you can see, were all affected. Buttercup was part of the Candy Pirates. Samurai Jack was a fry cook, and Eduardo was the king of the cul-de-sac. No, I think there's some mission listed here. But yeah, really, really cool update plan. I think it works. I think it's pretty nice. 10 missions. It says it has 10 missions, some of which would have had the players return to the past. Probably, from what I heard, it was supposed to be around 29, because we all know 29. Worst level in the game, 4 missions. Now let's go to this pre-expansion update. Let me see if I can zoom in on this, so that way we can focus more on this. Oh, that's too far. So the pre-expansion, so we need to get you into the expansion. This is what we would have had. Would have added Zack Saturday, Fiskerton, Komodo, Johnny Test, and Dookie to Orchard Bay. And those are all cool, but in my opinion, that's a little too many characters for Orchid Bay. Like, maybe Zack and Fisk could be moved back to Mount Vulcan. I think that would have been interesting. Komodo, that's a brand new model. That's interesting. But Johnny and Dookie are okay. And I actually, yesterday, after the failure of the stream, because of Microsoft, I messed around on Open Fusion, and I actually put Johnny Test, where this says, because it says Johnny Test, I don't know if it says it here, but he was supposed to replace Mario Superior, the guy by the skate park. That's really cool. Doyle from Secret Saturdays, Fire Swamps. There's actually a line of dialogue in Open Fusion's Academy build that references this. So this was actually Gregon idea that was cut. So that's cool. And then the Fusion Blowfish would have returned, being bosses. We all know those are scattered around the world. And Johnny Test Nano, which I don't know if you've seen. The Johnny Test model for both Legacy and Retro. Huge improvement. I don't know how to show it. I don't know what to look up to show it, but God, it looks so much better than that ugly Academy Johnny Test. I like this idea. Johnny Test is that weird show, but I would have liked having it. And naturally, the Unstable Nano would have transformed into Zack. I heard it was supposed to transform into Larry 3000 on Time Squad, and then he was supposed to become a World Nano. That's what I've heard. Can't be certain about that. But this is a cool idea. I just think Zack and Fisk should be, and maybe Komodo should all be at like Mount Blackhead or somewhere else in the wilds, maybe Twisted Forest. I just think that is a little too many characters for Orchid Bay. Dookie, do whatever you want with Dookie. I don't care about Talking Dog. But yeah. So then we get the pre-expansion 2. This was interesting. So I don't know if many of you remember the Pick of the Days. That is forever ago. That is like like 7 years ago, 6, 7, when the Universe team was being pick of the days, there was one that was themed around Vivi Argos from Secret Saturdays with Muscle Man and High Five Ghost from regular show. So that's really cool to see. They would have been in Fusionfall going on a mission. Like they started working for Vivi August, I guess. Pimpleback Mountains, really nice. That is where they think they were supposed to be in Legacy. So that's cool. And Mr. Black and Mr. White from Johnny Test, those guys, the guys that blew up Malaysia. That's all I know them for. And number 86. Now, I always get confused, but I think number 86 is the redhead one with the helmet and the jacket. And General Specific, which I think is from Cow and Sheep. Not Cow and Sheep. What am I saying? Sheep in the Big City. Cow and Chicken and Sheep in the Big City are different shows. Cow and Chicken sucks, by the way. But in Area 51.5, I don't know where they would have been. I would say maybe they're by the wharf, or number 86 is by herself, by like the infected zone entrance. That would have been interesting. This is again a lot of characters, and there's a lot of characters we're gonna see that were planned. I don't really like too many characters in one area unless they make sense. I guess this would have been fine. It would have been fine. And the Ghost Freak Nano. Ghost Freak Nano would have finally happened. And if you know, I've talked about the Ghost Freak Nano in the past. An interesting Nano idea. Didn't make it into the game specifically because of problems resulting in not problems, alien force. It doesn't say what level, but personally, trying to think about it, who would get the Ghost Freak Nano? Possibly Grandpa Max. I think either that or possibly Kevin in Nowhere. That way it could lead to the whole, VVR Guts and Muscle Man and all this stuff going on in Nowhere people back. It's either Gwen, Kevin, or possibly Grandpa Max. Those are the three options I see giving the World Nano mission. Ghost Freak would have had the same powers that Swampfire currently has, probably. I don't know what the Retro team were thinking. They were doing a lot better with nano powers in general. Granted, we only got 3 nanos and they were all Fusionfall Originals, but hey, would have been interesting. And this would have had stuff about the moon base, which we know isn't in Fusionfall because it was destroyed. I think concepts for Legacy said it would have been an infected zone, which would have been cool. Now we get to the actual expansion. So these are some areas that were planned: Monster Island, Stormalong Harbor, the Absolution, also from the old Grygon days. And I'm going to tell you, I predicted something here. So first, the expansion was planned for Fusionfall Retro, would have included 2 new areas with 2 new infected zones. The Flapjack and Johnny Bravo Nanos did technically make it into the Nano list. You can see them, but they're eternally saying Nano coming soon because unfortunately, never happened. But they're there. I like the changes they did. Flapjack had a group jump instead of a group run, which makes more sense. And Johnny's Cosmic. Johnny Bravo being Adaptium never made sense. At least 10 new NPCs, which is interesting. I wonder who they would have been during the expansion. Initially planned in more areas. There were also new guide missions, by the way, which were obvious. And of course, this was supposed to be like 2 new levels. This was supposed to be 37 and 38. New levels. So, of course, it'd be 2 new guide missions. And Mojo's guide would have had him helping with the Puckleberry Overlords from Chowder, which we saw in the Christmas update of 2018. But yeah, that's interesting. I think Johnny Bravo, that might show up here. Haha. Wait, a sequel to the before-mentioned manga. Oh, there was also a manga. They were going to do a manga plan, which would have had Tom. You can see Tom saved number 362, which makes sense. And the UFO magnet would have brought Tom, and he would have crashed in the ocean. And what's funny is in the Academy build of the game right now, if you talk to Tom, he will say a line mentioning that the Absolution is in trouble and needs your help. What I think is awesome is that some expansion content was being done and that they got Steve Bloom to come in and record that line as Tom before, the expansion in Grygon fell through. So that's cool. I don't know if it talks much about Nanos, but yeah, there were some. This was all pretty cool stuff. I like it. Map of the Wave Sea expansion areas. Minus, I guess, Mount Everest was also planned for the area. I don't know about that. And the Foster's Dungeon. So they were planning. So if you don't know, one update in like summer, I think of around either summer or something else of 2019, they added an interior to Foster's, and Mr. Heron was moved there. They were planning to expand that and move him to his office, and the entire plumber guys were supposed to be replaced. I don't know if there's art here with these guys. Another one episode off characters, I think. I can't be certain. It's been so long since I've seen Foster's. They're supposed to be in a billboard. I don't know where in the game. Opinion, probably somewhere in the suburbs. And a dungeon, which is interesting to think about. Like, Fusionfall doesn't have dungeons. Like, they tried something with that in the Academy. There was the Chowder and Adventure Time dungeons where you went into Chowder's mouth, which was supposed to be Bubby's mouth, but you went in there. And then there was also the Ice King stuff, which was, those were dungeons. For the most part, they were dungeons. But they didn't work out too well. Like, you're only there for a short amount of time. Also, there was the Ben 10 Alien Abduction. Those are like the only 3 updates that felt like they actually worked in Fusionfall during the expansion. Not the expansion, the whatever, the Academy. Those were actually expansion, not expansion. Those were actual dungeons. Like, you went into them, mission revolves around them, and that's just something I brought back in. But what's something else? There's also supposed to be players could access the dungeon through Goo, so Goo from Foster's was supposed to be in. There's no art of her. Multiple rooms, branching paths, and I don't know if I mentioned this here. I think it should. They're supposed to be randomized, so that's even crazier. So we're getting into some actual MMO dungeon stuff here. Also, they just can't let this. They just did not want to let this go. Boomer from Powerpuff Girls was supposed to be in it because for some reason they just cannot let that mission line go. They just will not let that mission line go where they have Boomer from Powerpuff Girls and Jackie Cohn's team up. They loved that. I'm telling you, that was one of the first things we knew about for Legacy, and they were making sure that got into this Fusionfall project. And then we got some art here. We got art of the new shot vendors. Take forever. Don't know these guys. I don't know if I ever saw their episode. Some of the friends we can see here. I don't. Oh God, no! Go away, Bing. Shut up. You're not important. But I don't know many of these characters, but they all look familiar. I do know they all exist from the show. I'm gonna switch mouse computers. But yeah, these are all characters from the show. We all know them. They appeared as background characters, so it would have been nice to see them around. And just the Foster's characters had much more importance in Fusionfall than we give them credit for. These are some of the fusion designs for some of them friends. Obviously, some friends would unfortunately get fusionized. Sad fate, sad fate. Some more enemy designs. Really cool. They had lots of plans. I think this is supposed to be like a new sloppy giant concept. I don't know who that is. And Madame Foster. Madame Foster was planned, and that's interesting. She's a little taller, but of course I had to change her design a bit. And also there's this guy. He's the vehicle vendor. Because I guess there was a vehicle vendor in there. Yeah. Foster's Dungeon. The update primarily with addition Foster's Dungeon. We've talked about this. Some nice arts. So that was closer than we would have known. Now this is interesting. Underworld / Zoo update. So this update would have this Townsville Zoo, like I said, they just refused to give up that idea. They just refused to let that go to waste. And so the zoo. I assume Boomer and Jackie Cohn would have been moved there. And then there's the Underworld, which I have no idea what this connects to. Is this like Billy and Mandy? But it says Aku would have been involved, so we would have seen Aku finally. This would probably be a late game area. Yeah, it says like have area. Adam Lyon from oh jeez, I heard the follow. Hold on. Followed. Thanks for the follow, man. Minish Dimensional. Thank you. Give the follow. Welcome to the chat. We're just again, like I said, we're talking about Fusionfall content, so it's old stuff, but yeah, it's just a nice chill stream where we talk about this. But yeah, so back to it. Adam Lyon from My Gym Partner's a Monkey, which got scrapped originally from the original Dragon thing. I think it was. They just decided to scrap it in general because obviously they couldn't draw Jake Spider Monkey. But him would have been moved there, which I like that as much, but it's alright. And Jake Spider Monkey, and like I said, Boomer and Jackie Cones, they just did not want to give that zoo idea up. And Jake Spider Man. This is interesting because this would have been an area in the game, which is really cool. A new area? Like, that wasn't the expansion, like to the old map. That was interesting. And then the second expansion was set to have some Adventure Time and Chowder characters. Wait, where was it? We missed something. There was something about Nanos. the other Nanos that were planned for the expansion. There were 4 of them, and I guessed them all right. I don't know. I can't find it, but maybe we'll talk more about it. But the second expansion, Adventure Time Chowder, only 2 stuff from the Academy that actually felt like it got properly added into Fusionfall. Third expansion would have had Johnny Test, Ben 10, which is cool. Steven Universe, which is a highly asked for show in Fusionfall. I'm gonna leave my opinions. It's an alright show. I don't watch it. I didn't really watch it back in the day, but I understand its importance. So it would have been cool to have it regardless. There's some more stuff to talk about with Steven Universe a bit later down. Regular show, Gumball and OKKO would have been here, which is interesting. And then there's a Teen Titans, which, ooh, let me talk about this. I'm not sure Teen Titans was the best series to add to Fusionfall at all. The reason for this is because technically that's a DC property. The Universe team already had trouble back in Legacy when they were trying to implement total drama. Fresh TV got on them. I could be wrong. I could entirely be wrong, and Cartoon Network doesn't actually fully, or they fully do on the Teen Titans, but I don't think so. So I think this was too risky, and they probably should have scrapped this idea. Like, it would have been great. We all love the Teen Titans, but it's too risky. They could face another DMCA, and we already suffered one DMCA. Let's not suffer another one. It was a fun idea, but I think it was too risky. And the final stuff for Retro was they'd go to Planet Fusion, a gem warp, so some Steven Universe stuff. And you probably would have fought Fuse here. Some changes. They would have added Moxie, because another thing the Retro team won't let go is Moxie, the first Cartoon Network character. He supposedly would have been in the Absolution, so that's a fun reference to Toonami, and how it shows a bunch of old stuff. Dexter's model. I think this model is officially in the game now, thanks to Retribution. Cannot be certain, but it might be. Don't quote me on that. I haven't played Retribution in a couple days. But yeah, this would have supposed to happen in the update. Some Mandark. The Mandark enemies that appear in Nostalgia would have been originally going to have armor. Uniforms based on Tron. Okay, but wireframing. Major Glory would have taken you to Mount Everest, so it's basically like the Academy. Oh, I guess. So there's a lot of things. If you've been in the Fusionfall fandom as long as I have, there's a lot of things that you learned. One of them, they did not want to let Dexter's dad go either. They were dead set on putting this character in the game. And as you can see here, he was supposed to be in Hook's Slice Hills, which was another area they were planning to add on to, I think, the suburbs. I think it was supposed to be behind Peach Creek Estates. Oh god, I minimized everything. So yeah, and then there's Tom. Tom would have been in the expansion, we know this. Big character. Would have rescued numbers 362. And rough concept of I think we found money soon after the first expansion. And he would have pulled down to Earth near Stormalong Harbor. The ship was later infected. For obvious reasons, Fuse doesn't want anything going to space. And, where is it? There's something here about Tom. I can't seem to find it, but there was something here about a Tom Nano, and I correctly predicted that. So, back when I was popular on the Fusionfall Amino, I made a post talking about what the expansion might have, and we knew Flapjack and Johnny Bravo were supposed to be the new Nanos, and then I predicted Zack Saturday, which was confirmed by Dogun. There's an official model of his Nano with the rim around it, the retro rim style that they did, where they put the color, and Tom. I correctly predicted it. I've heard sources that it was Alien X, but something in here talks about how actually Alien X was planned to be a Ben 10 guy Nano, and I'll talk about that when we find it, but yeah. Johnny Bravo was going to be located at Stormalong and supposedly kidnapped by pirates, which is funny to me. And he would have appeared by Candy Wife, the only woman that could tolerate him. And it says here that he would have continued Ed's guide mission, so we have that one. I think it was, I'm not sure who would have continued Mojo. I think it was the Puckerberry Overlords. And not sure who would have continued Dexter. Probably Major Glory. Also, I forgot to mention it, but if we go back to the Major Glory stuff, it says he would have had a boss rush. So I think stuff like the Shipwrecker, the Dark Horntails, the Column Colossus, the Stone Scorpion, I think it is. These are a bunch of enemies that were planned bosses, but all were cut. All of them were cut, so that was a shame. But I think they were all going to appear in this boss rush, which is interesting and cool. So that would have been nice. I would have loved Colin Colossus. One of my favorite enemy designs in the game. Then we would have had Cow and Chicken, DeMeo Farm alongside Chicken, which I think that was one of the third expansion areas. Cow and Chicken is some weird show. I previously just said it sucks, but I'm taking that back. It's weird. And Chicken had full-on art because he was planned for Legacy. And Weasel is going to be a Mount Everest, and that's his Legacy model from the Legacy video from forever ago. So him, we know, is moved to Habitat Home. Jackie, Cones, and Boomer, two notable characters. This is the Boomer Legacy model. Early Boomer concepts I'm not a fan of. I love this model too, by the way. I would have liked Boomer. I know I just said they would not let Boomer go, but Boomer's nice. Like out of the three Rowdy Rough boys, he's like maybe I don't want to be this. And apparently Jake Spider Monkey would have been their main enemy. So this is just the entire line. So Brick, who's the other Rowdy Rough boy, was here in the second expansion in the Marzipan suburbs, which is interesting. Messing with Jake the dog and Sergeant Hoagie. That's funny. What is he doing with Jake the dog? This is his outfit. He was set to have the long hair, usual. There's something here I think that talked about him trying to brute force his way to Planet Fusion. Or is that Butch? This is it. It was Butch. He was supposed to be on Planet Fusion, so like that. Similar to Little Mac. That is a really cool idea that they were going to make him look like Little Mac from Punch-Out. Look at that Goku hair, though. The Super Saiyan hair. It's cool, though. It's a nice concept. Rolf was appearing in DeMeo Farm, and Rolf is actually another character really planned for Legacy, and they got a lot of stuff about Rolf. I think he was originally supposed to be at Peach Creek Commons, but it's nice that they moved into an actual farm. Oh, look at this. Eustace. My boy, Eustace was planned to be at an undetermined time. He would have been located in Steam Alley, which is funny to think about. That he's like, dang, truck broke down. Now I'm stuck in the city. I don't even like the city. And he was meant to be driving all the way downtown to get his precious Odinments? I don't know. The truck broke down in Steam Alley. Where was this dude going? All the shops are not in Steam Alley. And Muriel was likely going to be at Nowhere with Courage. General Specific, this is from Cow and Chicken. We talked about him a little earlier. He would have acted as Mr. Black and Mr. White's boss, because I guess we couldn't get the actual general from Johnny Test into this, but here he is. Sheep in the Big... Yeah, Sheep from Sheep in the Big City. Here's Bucktodd Russell. I talked about him earlier. This is the most we know about him. One of the most notable. Supposed to be... He did technically appear in the game through Father Time, as it says here in Time to Groove. This is his model. Again, if you have a copy of the retro build of the game, and you have an NPC list, he can be summoned into the game. It is possible to summon him into the game. He has animations, but that's about it. There's nothing there's no, like, dialogue. He doesn't say anything. He was originally supposed to be in Hunter's Crest, and if you hear his line in Time to Groove, he says he's about to be, or like Otto is about to be eaten by a dinosaur. So that gave you a hint that they were in Hunter's Crest, which is a nice, like I said earlier, they probably would have given some level 29 missions. Lord knows what. Here's the Otto model. This was from Dogon's stream. I think he would have been by the Nano Station in Hunter's Crest, or by the Time Pod. And some nice art of him. I can't really show it, it's really small. And I think if I tried to look at the picture, it'd also be really small. But yeah, Otto. Here we go. Here we go. Aku. Big guy. Not in the game because overpowered scale. I talked about it in my recently uploaded Aku Nano video. But they were gonna make him in the game because there's a mission that's like, we must act quickly. Aku is coming. And here he is. August is the addition of the Aku. NPC in the game along a fusion version. That sounds terrible. And apparently it says it was not set in stone, so this is something. A Samurai Jack mystery dungeon. This is a cool concept of Aku, though. I would have liked him to be a little smaller, like he's like, I will look down on you by pretending to be you, or something like that. Jeff the Spider, who was in Retro for the 2019 holiday event, and says he was going to be by Fredford Burger. So this officially confirmed that the Underworld was supposed to be Billy and Mandy, like I said a little earlier. So yeah, Fred Burger. Scar was going to be out of the Galaxy Garden during some point in development. He was meant to appear in his gardening outfit from Billy and Mandy, which we knew he had a life gardening. He would have found a way to weaponize the gardens against Fuse. Classic Billy and Mandy being goofy. This is what he was supposed to look like in the Legacy fan project. Nurgle Jr. with his anime. Bro, this dude stands up like freaking anime. This dude thinks he's an anime protagonist. Pier, but we don't know where. My opinion, either Underworld or Eternal Vistas or Meadows. Dude, this looks like an anime protagonist. Robot Jones would have been added to Tech Square. Box. The devs plan to have him working for Box more. I don't know who that is. Someone from Robot Jones, but he's originally. So if you knew a Legacy plan, he was supposed to be like working for Mandark. Like Mandark's like, hey buddy, hey you little bot, you're working for me, so I can have a counter to Dexter's computer. So it's nice to see he would have been coming along. Here's the number 86. Oh, there's a lot on her. Number 86, we know. She would have appeared in Area 51.1 with Mr. Black and Mr. White, talking about the moon base from K&D. Crazy to think about. And learning about how 62 would sacrifice herself. With Mr. Black and Mr. White, as they think she's an alien due to her Scottish accent. Bro, these two are horrible at their jobs. They blew up Malaysia. Now they're thinking a Scottish person is an alien. Why don't they just go arrest a Scotsman down in Townsville Park? And then we have number 362, head of the K&D. Was supposed to be in the expansion with Tom, who saved her. I like this style of her without the helmet on. That's an interesting one. She looks a lot more anime cutesy in this stuff, which I guess makes sense. It's a Fusionfall style. Rightful children from down the lane. Ooh, they would have appeared in the grasslands and would be trying to take over Finn and Jake's house, mistaking it for the tree house. Okay, those are in two completely different locations. That's in the grasslands of Ooh, and the other one's in the suburbs. Way, way far away. I started them though. This is number three's sister. Not a lot on her. She's just planned, I guess. I don't know what this is. This looks like an enemy. And here we go again with the Teen Titan stuff, which again, cool, but dude, that is so risky. Like, you were already treading thin ice with the total drama DMCA that happened, and not the DMCA, the cease and desist. The DMCA and the cease and desist kind of different. I think it was just Fresh TV said, yeah, we don't want any total drama content in the game, so they were already treading pretty thin with it. And then this happened. This was going to then the actual DMCA happened. But I just don't see a world where Teen Titans can legally be in Fusionfall. I think DC, Warner Brothers would have gone on them hard, especially Warner Brothers. There's just something that DC maybe, but Warner Brothers definitely. So there's nothing. Cheese was going to have a remade model. It looks more cartoon accurate. Cheese and the Darklands, of course. Was going to get his legacy model, which is nice to see that Blue was going to have his paddle ball. And we know Harriman was going to be moved to his office. Goo was going to be added as the warp to Foster's dungeon. We already talked about Madame Foster a bit earlier. Jackie Combs, or these two. Okay, so I don't blame you if you don't know what this show is. Hi Hi Puffy Yame Yume was a Americanized Japanese cartoon focusing on the Japanese stars. I think their names were Ami and Yumi. Dude, I don't know what it was about this show, but I've seen a couple episodes of it, and it is strangely intriguing. Like, I want to watch more. And this is another one of those legalities a little crazy. Seems a little rough. Because, like, these are real people. These are cartoonized versions of real people. But this is another one I predicted. They were supposed to be in Townsville Mall. Also predicted that. And what's nice to see is they were planning to have a concert. They would have been, they were part of a park area. The class of 3000 kids, they were supposed to be with them. And who would have been organizing a benefit concert from the park, because we all know the park needs it. I mean, Park from regular show gets crazy every day. But I like this. I like that they were going to have Nanos too, and that's awesome, dude. I don't know what it is about this show. I just love it for some reason. I would have loved to see these Nanos. And what's nice, I don't know if you can really see them. I try to look at them right here. They were supposed to be based on their more cartoon accurate style compared to these, which is their more, I guess you could say, traditional style. Yeah. Camp Laszlo was in the game, but none of the Laszlo characters are because Gragon couldn't draw animals. That Courage model is disgusting. But it would have been at the Providence Petting Zoo, having set up his own camping experience away from camp, much to the alarm of Agent 6 and Bobo Haha. There's not a lot talking about Generator Rex, but we'll talk about it. Generator Rex was planned. Great show, by the way. This is one of the most notable things that was supposed to be added. This model actually looks like he should. I guess Raj, he would have been in Mount Blackhead. Laszlo and Clam decided to go to leave Camp Kidney and go to the freaking petting zoo. He would have stayed with number 3, so that's cool. Slinkman, another character we know, says he would have been at Camp Kidney, obviously. Laszlo, Raj, and Clam never evacuated. Probably looking for them. Scoutmaster Lumpus, if you've been in the Fusionfall community, you know this is one of the greatest jokes about Legacy, is that we had these silhouettes for like a whole year, and the joke was that Scoutmaster Lumpus was there from the very beginning of the silhouettes, never revealed. They did an April Fool's Day joke where they said they were going to reveal him, and then they revealed it was SpongeBob, which isn't allowed in the game, because completely different company, by the way. And then there was the total drama joke where it was like Chris McClane was wearing the Scoutmaster Lumpus hat and like, hey guys, it's me, Scoutmaster Lumpus. And then it wasn't actually. And then there's Clam, who was supposed to be a Providence from the sounds of it, alongside Lumpus, and he would have found Providence. Okay, here it is. Here it is. The Johnny Test model. Let me zoom out so I can actually look at this. Talked about this earlier. This is amazing. This is a much better Johnny Test model than this. Look at this. That's ugly. This captures the just Johnny. It captures him perfectly. Captures Johnny Test amazingly, and I think this would have been great. So he would have been in Orchid Bay, replacing Mario Superior, as I said earlier. Dookie was going to be at Orchid Bay too. Mr. Black and Mr. White, once again, being bad at their job in Area 51.5, probably trying to arrest people for unknown reasons. These guys were going to appear in the Johnny Test area. His sisters, Susan and Mary. I think from what I heard, their lab was supposed to be like an area you could go to as well. And then the Adam Lion and Jake Spider Monkey. These are some Legacy Arts Habitat homes. Him was trying to use Lloyd's blood to enter the underworld. Excuse me, what? What? This dude is this is a child. Yeah, whatever. Here we go. My favorite part of the expansion, because Ben 10 is one of my favorite shows. So Heat Blast was planned for the Omnitrix update, which was an update released in July of 2019, and was supposed to be the retextured Allen model at the birthday bash. And then the Legacy team discovered, wait a minute, we can actually model, and the Spider Monkey ended up. I like Spider Monkey much more, mainly just because, Heat Blast he's cool, don't get me wrong, there's a lot cool about Heat Blast, but I like the Spider Monkey model more. It's really lively, interesting. Definitely a better decision. Azimuth was going to show up, probably reusing his expansion. His Academy model, which is in the game. I saw it yesterday. Really small. A game. He's supposed to be on the what the heck just happened? He was going to be, I think, Monster Island, where the Galvins just showed up because they're like, hey, the Omnitrix isn't working. We should go do something about that. And, oh, I love this. I love this. Swamp Fire. My boy, my favorite alien was going to be in the game. And there was a hint to him in the Albedo missions at level 34 where he's like, do my eyes deceive me? Is that an Empiri? Possibly a Sonosarian? No, not Sonosarian. An Arachnid Or is it a Methanosian? And Methanosians are swamp fire species. So he was supposed to be here with gray matter, which you might as well go see that gray matter was supposed to be here. And the two of them were like, hey, let's work together. Now, I don't think, canonically, this is supposed to take place during Ultimate Alien. It's implied that Ben has access to gray matter, but gray matter doesn't appear again until Season 1 of Omniverse. So, it'd have been interesting to see what he would have looked like. Would he have worn an interpretation of what he would have looked like had he been an Ultimate Alien? Would he have worn a Galvin such as with the Omnitrix on the back? Or would he have looked like his classic series with the stripe? I don't know. I'm saying he would have looked like classic with the stripe and all that. but that's me. That's me just going off of what was known about Alien Force, and we know that what is it? Uh, he didn't appear in Alien Force, but he not Alien Force, Ultimate Alien. He appeared in the intro of Ultimate Alien every episode, by the way. So there was that, but he probably would have sort of used his classic model. And I would have said the same about Heat Blast, but dude, Heat Blast looks the same in every series. And that's good. That's fine. That's great. Heat Blast looks great in every series. It's amazing. Iconic alien. But yeah, gray matter is interesting. Other aliens, they were probably plans to have a lot more. If I had to guess, maybe I'm gonna just throw some out here, possibly like Chromastone. You know, he already broke out of the Omnitrix. Maybe Goop. Those are a couple aliens that broke out. Funny, way big. Just imagine going to this island and seeing a Toku star towering above everyone. But we know Wrath was, and that's a nice one. That would have been funny to think that Wrath was here. And the thing is, it's not fun actually. Humongosaur was supposed to appear alongside Rex from Generator Rex, both in Dinosaur Past, which is interesting. I almost wonder, and I'm not going to say it, but if they would have moved the Swampfire and Humongosaur nano missions to Swampfire and Humongosaur. And if that's the case, I'm going to say another alien that's out of the Omnitrix is Forearms, possibly in his older appearance. For all we know, they would have updated the Forearms nano to look like his Ultimate Alien one. And this is an interesting one. Young Kevin, who probably would have been in his mutated state. There's no pictures of his icon, but young Kevin was actually playing for the original game, as the rest of the young Ben 10 characters. He has a similar motive of planning to brute force fuse, same with Butch. I think the two would have gone along. Sunny Bridge from Class of 3000 is at the park, likely organizing that benefit concert that we talked about with Ami and Yumi. So that would have been cool. Would have been nice. I would have thought he would have been at Marquee Row, so he's like, oh man, my auditorium's infected. Let me deal with that. There's nothing about the kids here, but the class from Class of 3000 would have been. And then we got Sour Ron, who we already know was in the game because he appeared in the Christmas update from 2018, and the Puckerberry Overlords would have been here, and it says here they would have been that. Chowder was planned to be located in Hookslide Hills, mirroring his role from Legacy. A lot of these are just dealing with their Legacy roles. It's just a thing. They were somebody said it best in a server I was in where Retro was just becoming what Legacy was supposed to be, because let's be honest, Legacy kind of went dark after a while. But yeah. And then we have Art of Mung, which look at his hair. Look at the pointy hair. That's so hilarious. Pointy dome hair. It's funny to me. But he would have been in Schnitzel in Marzipan City near Mundal's Catering Company, which would have been infected. Obviously, iconic locations infected. It's funny. Hair. Oh, but yeah, also Schnitzel was in the game, technically. They would have used Macho. Nano. Gazpacho. Gazpacho was planned for the expansion, running around Marzipan. It's also been a robotic shopkeeper based on him, the new types of items. So he probably would have an existential crisis like, oh my god, they're replacing me. You could put into a crock pot, something about the items. One with a single big gazpacho bot. Funny. Sergeant Hoagie, he's a minor character from Chowder, but hey, he was supposed to be dealing with, who is it? God, we had it. He was supposed, they were messing around with Jake. Is it? I think it's Brick. Yeah, it was supposed to be with Brick. We saw some Flapjack. Bubby's mouth. Bubby would have been like the second largest NPC, surpassing the magic tree, so she probably would have been a static object. The development of her NPC model started near the end of Retro's Out of the Omnitrix update, so people could walk in her mouth. She was in the game temporarily. Also, this was her mouth is infected zone, which is really interesting. Infected zone. She was temporarily in the game. Around September. February 2019 for the Valentine's Day event. Funny story. For me, she just kept appearing up until the game shut down in April of 2020. There was a whole stream on Discord. I showed a bunch of guys where they're like, "No, you're not. You're crazy." I'm not crazy. There was evidence. A bunch of people got on Discord. I think maybe even the devs themselves showed up and were like, "What's going on here?" the ghost whale, as I called her, was my Fusionfall experience, and I'm always going to have that. No one can tell me otherwise. My experience. And of course, Flapjack, who was originally in Leaky Lakes, removed. Dr. Barber, the guy from, I think it was Candy Shop, with his wife, both plans. Knuckles, it's about time he showed up. He was going to appear in the Candy Kingdom, obviously. He's going to be like, this is an entire kingdom made of candy, I need to be here. And then here we have Zack Saturday, Orchid Bay near the Skywarp agents. I thought he would have been over by like the wharf or something. Fiskerton, that's a legacy model. Komodo, we don't know. And then Doyle, who is a pretty recurring character for Secret Saturdays, would have replaced Peggy Danger, which I actually like. Him and Johnny Test have this role where they replace characters that no one cares. No, Mario Superior isn't real. He's not a real character. They literally just made up that name for Fusionfall. Peggy Danger is not a real character. They're both just reused models with new outfits on them. So these would have been nice to have these characters around so that it would have popped and made something new. And here's VV Argus would have been the Pimpleback Mountain with a stated, who are they? Muscle Man and High Five Ghost. Doc Saturday would have appeared on Monster Island with his wife, Drew. Drew Saturday would have appeared there. And Zon would have appeared on Monster Island with them, the bird girl. Lumpy Space Princess, and this is actually one of the stuff cut from the old Total Drama era. She was originally supposed to appear with Chris McLean. She apparently needed a MacGuffin that... Can you stop doing that, fandom? That tied into the rest of the plot of the expansion. Oh boy, she's important. Marceline the Vampire Queen. Nice art of her. In the Undead / Zoo update would have been interesting. Jake's model. Okay, look, Jake's model sucks in normal Fusionfall. He's one, a static object, and two, creepy to look at. But there's something off about this. I just don't think you should be giving Jake the shiny eyes. They keep trying to do that. Stop with the shiny eyes. They don't work. The shiny eyes just make him look a lot creepier. Oh man, dropping frames. Okay, I'm trying to rush this. We're trying to get done with this. I get it, my frames are dropping, but I'm almost done. We should be done. Finn, Shamara Desert. I don't know where that's from. Princess Bubblegum would have appeared at the Candy Kingdom, likely telling Knuckles to, no, don't eat my people. Bimo would have appeared at the Grasslands. This is a picture of Bimo from Legacy. He would have thought the delightful children were house guests and let them in. That's crazy. Ice King, who did appear in the game, and Gunther would have appeared at the Ice Kingdom. Nice to see. They would have run back. Ah, yes, Rex Salazar, one of my favorite shows, would have appeared in Dinosaur Pass. And that's great to see. And Agent 6 would have been at the petting zoo with Bobo Haha. Dude, Generator Rex is the only show I think that really fits Fusionfall. Like, any show post 2009 that fits Fusionfall more than stuff like Chowder and Flapjack and Secret Saturdays is Generator Rex. It just feels like it. Like, Adventure Time can work, but then it kind of ruins the whole point of Finn being the only human in the world. Like, oh, all these other characters are humans, so what makes Finn special? But yeah, this would have been nice. Muscle Man High Five Ghost, as we said, working for VD Argust. Mordecai, really awesome Mordecai arts. That is really cool. Really encapsulates him. That Rigby art, both would have, one would have appeared at the park. It's going to appear at Lakewood Plaza, slacking out from his job. Pops, obviously, and Symbionic Titan with much better models than their legacy ones. I love the Ilana arts. That looks really nice. Symbionic Titan, really obscure show. So they were put up in Bellwood until a final decision location. So they were going to be in Bellwood, likely messing around with some Ben 10 characters. Gumball, this is his old legacy model from way back in the day. Like way, way back. Like 2015. Like when Legacy was just appearing. Darwin at Beach City. There's not much on these ones. Oh god. Uncle Grandpa was planned to be added at his own in no time. He actually being two Uncle Grandpas in a trench coat would have been a vendor selling players an item that may have become non-obtainable through normal gameplay or have been deleted. It's just exclusives. Were their plan just to replace the mystery vendor with Uncle Grandpa? Dude, remember that like time Warner Brothers shut down like when they were like ending HBO Max, they got rid of every cartoon except for one episode of Uncle Quink. Uh, Here's a Steven Universe characters based on their designs and future. I have nothing much to say on this. I am very uneducated on Steven Universe. I watched like some of the first season and I kind of just dipped out. It's around the time I was moving away from Cartoon Network, so understand its importance though. Would have been nice. Obviously, Garnet. Steven was going to appear in Elmore, which is interesting. Amethyst. Nice art of the characters, I will say. I don't know a lot of these people after a certain point, so I can't talk much. I especially know nothing about OKKO, so yeah, I don't know anything about this show. This was past my era, so these characters, someone wants to educate me on them in like a comments or stream chat, go ahead. I don't know a thing about them. Just a minute. 5YL, which if you don't know is the collaboration between the ink tanker or the artist, uh, that item, well, it was in the game. You can still get it technically. These are just generic NPCs. No one cares about these. Here we go. A total of 40 Nanos are planned to be released for the expansion. The types of the powers of returning Nanos will likely have been changed due to their team desire to keep Nano selection balanced. Nice. By the game's finale content update, the level cap would have been 60. So there would have been 20 new Wait, no. We're at 36, so there would have been 20, like 24 new Nanos. That would have been crazy. The Larry the Unstable Nano was originally planned to transform during the Valentine's Day event when it would, before they got rid of the updates, it was supposed to be Flapjack and exact Saturday. And then Halloween, it would have turned into Dracula. However, we never got to see what the Halloween 2020 expansion was ever planned to be because April 2020 happened. And like I said, was going to be obtained from a World Nano mission during Time 2, Johnny Test, and the Ghost Freak Nano, which would have been cool. There's nothing here about the Upgrade Nano, though. So obviously, Upgrade just got the short end of the stick and never got a Nano. Kind of a shame. The Flapjack, we know, level 37. Johnny Bravo, level 38. X Saturday, level 39. And Tom was 40. I told you guys, I called this literally a couple months before all this information became public. I called this back in like February or something, maybe January. I called this. I called it. Tom from Toonami was level 40 Nano. There's also, here's it, the Alien X Nano, which was obtainable from a level 40 guide mission. Now, let me talk about this. I am not the biggest fan of guide nanos. That just sounds like we're limiting them behind a wall, and as soon as you change your guide, you're not allowed to use them anymore, and I don't really like that. That's just not my style. Like, I want every nano to be accessible. Like, yes, you can change your guide. That's easy. That's easy to do. But, like, the fact that you have to change your guide just to use a certain nano and what happens if they're on your team if you change a guide. That's why I would have preferred Alien X was instead the level 40 nano. As much as I love Tom as level 40 nano, I would have taken Alien X. But this is an interesting storyline. You would have to fight a fusion Alien X. That is probably more powerful than Fuse. By the way, I talked about this a little bit, I think, in my Aku Nano video, where I talked about some of Ben's aliens leaving the Omnitrix and how Aku was one of the most powerful entities, the second or most being Alien X, and how what if Alien X escaped the Omnitrix? What would it do? Because would it have Ben's mind in there arguing with Bellicus and Serena, or would it just be there? But a fusion Alien X is connected to the hive mind of Fuse, so that's also crazy. And the powers of Alien X would therefore be in Fuse's control, so this is probably the most overpowered fusion, and it's no surprise it also says that Ben would have had to transform into Alien X and wait. And he would have had a dash power, which, okay. I don't know how I feel about new powers. I think the dash should have just been a basic gameplay addition. Another guy, Nano, Major Glory, don't really care for him. And here, by the way, I also predicted this way long ago. Let me have a bunch of papers on top of my desk, old Nano concepts, from years ago when I was like a little child. See if I can find him. The level 27 Nano, Sticky Beard. I had planned this. So I had planned this years in advance. So that's the crazy thing here that I would plan. Now, of course, I didn't know, and there's no way they took this idea from me. They didn't even know who I was back in when I was what, like 10 when I drew this. I drew these when I was like 10 to 12, so long ago. But I predicted this. It's just crazy to think about how much I predicted. And the VV Argos Nano. So those are some right nanos. This would have been a World Nano Insert. Oh, there we go. Upgrade from an Azimuth world mission, which kind of makes sense. I mean, Azimuth did create the galvanic mechamorphs. Would have been nice to see him in his updated appearance to his Ultimate Alien design, specifically from Heroes United. That would have been cool. Fred Burger would have had a nano. Interesting. I don't know what Underfist is. Cow and Chicken nanos, and apparently they would have been a duo. Another idea, I don't know how I feel, but I'd have had to wait and see. Would have had to wait and see, which was never going to happen. And the Way Big Nano would have finally happened. And this is an interesting concept. So, a number of Steven Universe nanos were planned for the third expansion. Their appearances would be based on the original show, while their other ones would be based on the appearance. Which would have interesting. The Steven Nano would have animations where Steven would accompany by the gems, which is another case of obviously they felt they were better than being individual members. I don't know how I feel about that. I think every character should be an individual member. But this is still an interesting concept to see Steven hanging out with the gems. And once again, the Teen Titan Nanos, which controversially designed off Teen Titans Go, one of the worst shows of the modern era. Again, I've stated it twice before. Don't really think Teen Titans should have been in Fusionfall, not because it's a bad show, not at all. Teen Titans is a great show. But because Teen Titans is a legal nightmare more than Fresh TV, didn't they learn with the total drama stuff? Maybe not. Get some fusion monsters. These guys, they happened. Birthday bash. Teed off candy. Going to be out of the Hook Slice Hills. Teed off caddy. So it's like, yeah, it's like a caddy from a golf course. It's really nice. The Hibagob, which is the fusion hominin. The Column Colossus, the Injustice Foe, and the Bullfish. These are all probably either for the boss rush or in the case of kind of the overhaul of Townsville Center. That's interesting. This is the Townsville Zoo. The Ruins, also called it. That's just because the Column Colossus makes sense for the Ruins. And wasn't it scrolling? There we go. Fusions, Fusion Buck and Auto, obviously, were planned for the Time Squad update. A Fusion Larry 3000, also probably. Fusion Dookie, which is interesting. Fusion Johnny and Dookie would have been fought together in a warehouse at Steam Alley. They're trying to use Chemical X experiments. Fusion Blowfish. Interesting. Fusion's a scare. Oh no, Fusion's just scared. Defeating him rewards the players the Ghost Freak Nano. Fought in the Null Void. Fusion Flapjack. Interesting. Fusion Johnny Bravo. Never seen. Would have been nice to see what he looked like. We don't have much on these guys. Here's a Fusion. Is this Fusion Tom? Fusion Tom would have been fought during the Tom Nano mission. He would have been a combination of Tom 1 and the Intruder were referencing the events of the Intruder Tsunami Total Immersion event. Unlike the Intruder's original design, Fusion Tom would have been held together by fusion matter instead of red goo. Interesting. The Fusion here they are, the two most powerful fusions ever: Fusion Alien X and Fusion Aku. That is chaos. The top of the lighthouse on Skull Rock, Fusion number pieces. Dexter's Lab interior would have been, yeah, nice to see. There's the team considered on Dex Labs. Kind of got that. Movie posters were planned to be out on the outside of the movie. The bills of various sorts. It's one of the concept posters is a remake of the poster for the live-action Alien Swarm movie. Ooh, that's out of date because Fusionfall takes place during Ultimate Alien. Maybe they should have been referencing like Destroy All Aliens or yeah, Destroy All Aliens. That would have been a fun reference. But just stop, fandom. You're doing the weird thing again. Here's some of the posters, I guess. Action Hank versus Ron Tango. I don't know what that's reference to. That's a Foster's reference. And the Alien Swarm with the only two aliens he actually used in the movie. Humongousaur and Big Chill. Townsville Hall was centered. Oh my god, let's see if I can actually look at this. I'm going to open this in a new tab and then we'll look at this in a minute. That's really hard to see, so we'll see. Stormalong Harbor. Shown off on a Discord server. Which one? A lot of concepts, interesting ideas. That's Skull Island. That was definitely Skull Island. That is not, or Monster Island. The Absolution, which is referenced in the mission, 1.21 megawatts, where it crashed in the ocean. held up by capital G. Well, that is. Mount Everest, the Null Void would have been more interesting. Adventure Time in Foster's Home Dungeon. Jack's Mystery Dungeon? Would be in a cool theme. Samurai. That's interesting. Interesting. It makes sense that, like, Adventure Time would have a dungeon because it's Adventure Time. Like, the whole point of the show is adventure. And there was kind of a dungeon in the official. Kind of in the official game? God, stream, can you stop dropping frames? We're just looking at some wiki articles. Well, yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, this is a lot of cool stuff. Marzipan Suburbs, Marzipan Station, and a bunch of course, Adventure Time and Chowder areas, the third expansion, would have been a bunch of the new stuff. Planet Fusion itself is an area. And these are some of the missions that we never got to see. So these are the closest to being in the game at the time. Auto Mechanic Assumption, level 29 mission, like I said, given by Otto, the player has introduced a buck, and they have got Otto's data pad from the time pod. Unfortunately, got stolen by Magma Hawks, but we must defeat some of them. Otto's data pad and just discovered a time anomaly a couple months into the future. Wow, it's only a couple months. Wow. Buck to the future, presumably a part 3, a 3-part mission, level 29 mission, given by Buck. Buck makes the player a senior time scout so they can investigate the time anomalies. The player would have traveled to Tech Square the future before it falls. Of course, Larry takes out the safety. The player realizes that Larry must be destroyed in order to fix the anomalies, so they let Larry be dismantled by fusion monsters. Upon returning to the past, the time stream is severely messed up, and Buck is assigned to clean the duties. Otto constantly complains about the player being a higher rank than him, despite him being with the Time Squad longer. Yeah, he's Buck and, like, Larry's adopted son. I will always stand by what I say. The Time Squad is a show about 2 gay dads and their adopted son messing up the timeline. Gotta get Buck. Gotta get back and gotta get Buck. Level 29 mission. Given by Otto, or also Samurai Jack, causing a time anomaly where he probably is the fry cook. The player goes back to check upon him and decides getting patched. Gotta get Buck. At level 29 mission, the player must return to Genius Grove of the future and discover that Samurai Jack has become a fry cook. The player must defeat tech drones, air drones, and trench queens, and Jack aspired to become a samurai again. What happens? How does Samurai... That's his entire life mission, to be the samurai. Oh, whatever. Personality matter. This is another reference. A level 29 mission given by Otto. Otto says another anomaly occurs in the future, causing Buttercup. Checks, and besides some people pirating the gangrene game's music, nothing out of the ordinary. Completion of the mission. A matter of time. Another Buttercup mission. A matter of time. Return to Candy Cove of the future and sees Buttercup leading the Candy Pirates. The Flamer Dr. Looker slips and tell him the only way to stop Peanut Buttercup is to find Sticky Beard. The Flamers find him and save the Candy Bandit. With Sticky Beard at the captain, the Candy Pirates Buttercup becomes a powerful girl again. I don't see how that happens. I mean, how did she become a Candy Pirate? Did she just decide, hey, you guys are no leader. I'm Tomboy and I follow you. And here it is. Ed, and Eduardo. Level 29 mission given by Otto. Otto says another time anomaly is caused by Eduardo. He's confused. He is confused as time anomalies are caused by historical figures, so he sends the players to do some background. Stop doing that weird thing where you bump up a bit. I was reading that. That's the Buttercup mission. There's background information on him. Eduardo says that he's only one of his beanie bags is not someone, and he believes Eddie's responsible for completion of this mission. Scam of the century. Would have returned to Peach Creek Commons. Eddie and Eduardo have swapped roles and personalities. That's crazy. The player finds that they are going to war between the urban rangers and the urban rebels. The player talks to Ranger Joey and tells him that the war overthrows Eddie and is taken over the cul-de-sac. The player will do something, but Buck would prefer if the player ran in with guns blazing. The player sneaks around Ranger Joey to determine the door is critical leak point. Otto spots the Trojan hamburger and suggests that the player uses it as a peace offering. Ed, who is still alive in the future, interesting, they make it into a Trojan potato. However, Buck got captured, and the player pushes the Trojan potato to the cul-de-sac. Eduardo lets them in, and the player finds Buck, and he gives them a stolen beanie bag, which he's named Buck Jr. He did. The player gives it back to Eduardo, and the cul-de-sac is set free. And then the other 2 parts of Buck to the Future. A level 35 mission, Buck and Otto being spied on by fusions. The Fusions are sending Intel Fusion Larry 3000 in Tech Square. The player must defeat Fusion Buck and Otto. Buck to the Future, Part 3. Level 35 mission. The player travels back to the moment they arrived in the future and beginning of the game. Player ignores number 5 and recovers the transmitter from the oil ogre. They use it to reprogram the warp gate. They would then defeat Larry 3000. Okay, so this is where they got the Larry 3000 Nano. And then here are some other missions. Johnny's quest, a mission given by Johnny Test, explaining that his sister sent him to Orchid Bay to find some test serum, so he and Dookie's superior alter egos could further enhance. Complication of this mission: Walk Dog's Days. Dookie tries to go on Johnny to stop slacking, but he fails. And redoing Orchid Bay Blitz, which is a mission given by Mars Superior. They came from Monster Island. Saturday, scanning the Blowfish. Interesting. Next Saturday, I realized the Blowfish. Zack Attack. Okay, I can't read them all anymore, so we're just gonna skim through them because there's a lot here. Mission given by Zack Saturday about the recent Weird World taking place in Townsville and finds out it's Argos, probably. This is the one where you probably would have fought Johnny and Fusion Johnny and Fusion Dookie. And Freak of the Week, it's a mission Haunted Ridge. It's the SSGA and the Plummet. The SSGA? What is that? That's not sacked. Whatever. Gover Interference Saga, where you would have dealt with these groups, and the Ghost Freak Nano mission, the Guide mission. Okay, at this point, everything is just sort of vague. Got some items. Some Time Squad items. This mission. Duck Dodgers set. On the Duck Dodgers set. Dungeon Crawler concepts. Interesting. Oh. Oh, I remember that episode where Finn goes crazy on the train. Yeah. That's a Metal Sonic reference, isn't it? Shut Amy! Shut Amy! It's like the freaking ship name between Sonic and not Sonic. Shadow and Amy. Hey. Oh, that is too funny. It shouldn't be, but it's funny to me. Oh God. There's a bunch of other sets. I don't got much to say about them. Oh, number 362 set. Multiple anime inspired. Oh yeah, look at this. We had a Dragon Ball Z number 4 set. From that one episode. The first expansion. Items, we don't really care much on items. Backpack logo sounds interesting. Prince Gumball. I don't know what that's from. It's just like, that would have been a sick one. Dude, I had this outfit idea where it was like a fake Nano, where like the backpack would like pop up with like an unstable Nano. It was like a cardboard, and it was like the fake. It was like, I don't know how to explain it properly. It was like a bluish backpack. There was like KND built, and there was like a 2x4 connected to a cardboard cutout of a Nano, which I had as the unstable, because the unstable is usually just the default you go to. Could have been any Nano. And it occasionally pops up, and the Nano is just there for a little while and then pops back down. It's kind of like the bat wings that you get at the high levels. So that was interesting. Rubber ball, nice. Robot, some vehicles. Pogo stick, that's amazing. Some loading screens, which is interesting. And that's it. That's it. That's everything. That was a lot. Dude, that was like an hour's worth of content, dude. I kind of want to upload this, but I'm not sure. That's an hour's worth of content. Imagine all this made into the game. That would have been, a little big and crazy. What can I say? It was sounding crazy and fun, and I would have loved to see a lot of this. Even if I don't approve of everything, it's not my idea. Oh dear lord, what did I do? This is the map, by the way. This is where I would have seen all the new characters. So let's just zoom in. We would have had Johnny and Duke. That's Bravo Beach. This is Bravo Beach, not. They would have been over here. The Townsville Zoo. That's where it would have been. I would have thought the Townsville Zoo would have been over here. But Jake, Spider Monkey, Boomer, Jack Tones, Robot Jones, Scar, Eustace, Adam Lion. We already knew Larry 3000 was there. Chowder Dad. Argost. Yes, that's the right area. Raj, Slinkman. Number 86, Mr. Black, Mr. White. Nothing was planned for out here, really. Buck Russell Otto, Rex, also Humongous Sword, they don't mention that. Laszlo, Bulbo Haha, Agent 6, Jeff Spider Monkey, Fredford Burgers, Marceline, Johnny Bravo, Flapjack, Calm, number 362, Sauron, Doc Saturday, Drew Saturday, LSP, Lumpy Space Princess, Swampfire, Azimuth Zon, just forgetting, what's his name? Grey Matter. Elmore, Gumball Steven, Pork Believes Susan Mary Test, Lakewood Plaza. What is Lakewood from? Is that from a specific show? I don't know what it's from. Rigby Endine, and I don't know, and Edid. The probably from a character I don't know. Mordecai, Sonny Bridges, Greg, Ami Yumi, Bellwood, Lance, Ilana Octis, Darwin Amethyst, Cow Chicken, Rolf Period Lapis, Miss Piero Connie, and and there's also this Brick, Sergeant, Hoagie, Jake, Schnitzel, Mungal, Rad, Garnet, Finn. That's probably from KO. When I think Rad, I think that weird duck guy from uh God, Omniverse, from Omniverse. Yeah, Ice King, and they're also missing what seems to be Ice King and Gunter. They're missing Gunter, Knuckles, Bubblegum, Delightful Children, Bimo, Lumpus, and Clam. And I don't know if there's anything else here. No, that's about it. The Null Void. Crazy, that's all the way up there. That is interesting.